and it's so freaking good. In this episode, a bounty hunter named Early, oh yeah, Early, one of the creepiest sons of bitches in this show. Oh, I'm Early. I love how the walls open up. And he says some really fucked up shit in this episode. This bounty hunter is fucked. Like he says, like when Simon's like, you're out of your mind. He's just like, well, it's just between me and my mind. And so then he even goes up to Kelly. He's like, you ever been raped? I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like, what? Who the fuck says that? But yeah, the actor who plays him is a very good actor. He plays the role so freaking good. And yeah, I loved the tension in this episode. Basically, he's looking for River, and basically River's hiding. And he's pretty much taking out every member of Serenity to get to her. And basically, he's using Simon as bait to go through everyone, and it's so freaking good. Yeah, and the ending of this episode was really, really good. I love how River fucks with Early, and I love how they get rid of Early, and I love that everyone just accepts River for what she is. Like people in the beginning of this episode, people were really scared of River because I love the beginning of this episode. You actually get to see the mindset of River. You actually get to see what River sees in her head. Like she's just walking on the ship, and there's all these flowers and everything. And all of a sudden, she just picks up a stick, and she's just like, "This is not what I think it is it?" And really, what you see, what they all see, is what she's actually picking up. She's really picking up a gun and pointing it at everyone. She sees a stick, but she's really pointing a gun at everyone, and it's Mel's gun, and they have to take it off of her, and he's just like, what the fuck? Do not touch. And then she's like, I don't get it. And she's like, I can't comprehend things. And yeah, that's why people are scared of River, because River can't comprehend things. She's like a schizophrenic, pretty much. She's a brilliant, strong, badass schizophrenic, but she's a schizophrenic. But at the end of this episode, they accept her for who she is because she's still a good person. She's still a very helpful member of the crew, and the way she fucks with Early is just so good. And yeah, I love how they accept her, and I love the ending of this episode, and I love this episode in general. It's a fantastic episode. Coming number 3 is Ariel. This is such a sweet episode. This is probably visually one of the best because the visuals in this episode are so freaking good. I love seeing this world of Ariel, the planet and everything. Very, very good effects, especially for a TV show. This episode, basically, Simon is sneaking River into a hospital so he can scan her brain. And basically, Mel and Zoe and Wash are robbing the hospital of all their medical supplies. And also in this episode, Jane is actually trying to screw Simon River over so he can get money from the bounty that's on their heads. And yeah, again, this is another episode like Jane's Town. It actually shows that Jane actually does have a good side to him. It doesn't start off like that because he basically fucks them over and everything. But yeah, he does have a good side because when Mel finds out what Jane did, Jane actually realizes that he is a dick and he will try to be a better person. And yeah, I loved this episode. The visuals were so good. Again, it was another Simon River episode. I love Simon River episodes, and I love seeing what actually happened to River. You're always so curious, like, what happened to River? And you find out more what happened to her and everything. And I love seeing these three very strange characters together: Simon, River, and Jane. And you actually get to see Jane and Simon actually fight together and fight some of these bounty hunters off and everything. And I like this episode. It was such a good episode. Some people don't like it. I adore this episode. I love it. It's so freaking good. Great development for Jane, and I love it. The visuals are so good, and you get to learn a lot about River. I love this episode. Coming number 2 is Our Mrs. Reynolds. Okay, I love this episode just for straight up selfish reasons, because every time I'm like depressed or have a down day, this episode of Firefly always puts a smile on my face and cheers me up. This is hands down the funniest episode of Firefly. It's so freaking good. It's not the best episode. I think Objects in Space and Ariel are better than this episode. But the reason it's number 2 because it's just my second favorite. Personally, I love it more. It's so funny and I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. What happens in this episode is actually Mel accidentally gets married to Saffron. This is the introduction to Saffron, played by Christina Hendricks, who's great in this episode and looks awesome in this episode. Yeah, basically he accidentally gets married. I won't go through how he accidentally gets married. But yeah, he accidentally gets married to Saffron and basically on the ship with them. And basically, most of this episode is basically Saffron trying to impress Mel, and Mel's just like repulsed by her. He's like, oh, get away from me, I don't want to be married to you. And basically the crew just making fun of him the whole time. That's it. And yeah, you find out in the end Saffron's a bad person. She has to fuck them over and everything. But yeah, they get her in the end. But yeah, most of this episode is just Saffron trying to charm Mel, and Mel's not interested. And basically the crew members just making fun of him that he's married. And it's so funny. I love this episode. I won't spoil any jokes because this is so freaking funny. Some people probably don't think this is the best episode of Firefly, and it's not, but personally, it's like one of my favorites. I love it. My number one favorite Firefly episode is, no shocker, Out of Gas. This is the best episode of Firefly ever. This episode I can just watch on its own. I've probably seen this episode more times than any other episode. Sometimes I just watch Out of Gas because it's so freaking good. This is not only the best episode of Firefly, this is probably one of the best episodes of any show I've ever watched. It's so freaking fantastic. It's only 45 minutes, and it's 45 minutes of amazingness. So freaking good. Basically, the story of this episode is Mel gets shot because his ship basically, the ship runs out of life support, and basically he gets all the crew to leave the ship, and basically he's left stranded on the ship by himself, and then another crew comes and they try to steal the ship from him, but it ends up getting shot, and he gets them off the ship. Basically, he's there on the ship alone with no life support, with a gunshot wound to his stomach, and he basically is trying to repair the ship, all by himself. And during this time, it's going through flashbacks of each character, and how each character came onto Serenity. Characters like Jane and Kaylee, and how Mel and Zoe bought the ship Serenity, and how Wash became the pilot. Basically, it's an intense episode of Mel trying to fix the ship with a bullet in his stomach, and it also shows what happened before then, and it shows all the character developments of all the characters and how they got on Serenity. They show all of that in this 45-minute episode, and holy crap, it's a lot to show, and they do it, and it's so freaking good. Seeing how all these characters met each other was just so interesting and fascinating. How Mel got the ship was just so good. The lines in this movie were just so brilliant. The writing is fantastic. It's intense. It's well directed, and it's my favorite episode of Firefly. It's so freaking good. I adore this episode. It's so amazing. Everything about it is so good. The acting by everyone is amazing, and it's everyone's favorite. It's Out of Gas, the greatest episode of Firefly ever. So yeah, that was my ranking of the Firefly episodes, my least favorite to my favorite. I love all the episodes of Firefly, so yeah, I don't hate any of them. It's my favorite show of all time, but yeah, that was my ranking, least favorite to favorite. And please, comment below, give me your list of your ranking, least favorite to favorite Firefly episodes. And if you haven't seen Firefly, give it a watch. And tell me how it is if you've watched it already. If you love it, love it. Comment below, let me know. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel and join the dark side. Because you can't take the scat from me.